As an exhilarating inter-county season draws to a close, we issue each team with an end-of-season report card, discussing whether or not they fulfilled expectations. Next up, we review the season of the Clare hurlers. Team Clare, Preseason expectations. Given the previous format of the hurling championship, the Banner County reached the quarter-final stages of the All-Ireland Series having won just one match. They were victorious against Limerick in the Munster semi-final before losing to Cork in the final. Clare gave a good showing against Tipperary in the quarter-final in Paircuich and found themselves only 1 point behind on 65 minutes before the Premier County pulled ahead. Clare enjoyed the dream start to this year's National League campaign. They had round wins over Tipperary, Kilkenny and Cork before falling to Waterford and Wexford in their final games. Nevertheless, all signs pointed to Clare being serious contenders in Munster and beyond. How they fared. The Banner County had mixed fortunes at the start of the championship season. They endured a lackluster defeat to Cork in the first round of the new-look Munster campaign, before bouncing back in style against a depleted Waterford side the next week. In what was one of their most memorable games of the season, Clare secured their first championship win over Tipperary in 15 years, condemning the 2016 champions to an early exit. Peter Duggan scored 2 late, dramatic points after a goal from substitute Ian Galvin to secure the win. Their next game was effectively a Munster semi-final against Limerick in Ennis, and Clare went into the game as underdogs. But instead, they produced a dominant display from the start and ran out comfortable victors on a scoreline of 0-26 to 0-15, Limerick's only defeat this year. So, Clare set up a Munster final replay with Cork. Again, they were underdogs but hit the ground running from the off, inspired by John Conlon, who scored 5 points from play before the break. 2 first-half goals from Peter Duggan and David Reedy saw them race into an 8-point lead. But Clare failed to keep the momentum going. A late first-half revival from Cork saw them race into the lead in the second, and Clare could not catch up and they were sent to the quarter-finals. Clare brushed aside the challenge of Wexford, much easier than many would have expected, but their toughest task was yet to come in the form of a semi-final battle against reigning champions, Galway. But the Banner kept the surprises coming. Galway sailed into a 9-point lead after just 15 minutes, leaving many to believe that it was going to be a walkover in Croke Park. But Clare rallied back, and a late free from Duggan forced extra time. Again, the champions pulled ahead, but their management team called on substitutes, Aaron Shanager and Jason McCarthy, who combined to send the game to a replay. Tens of thousands trooped to Semple Stadium for the replay, and they were not disappointed as hurling fans were treated to a nail-biting encounter once again. The game was almost a carbon copy of the first, as Galway stormed into a 9-point lead once again while Clare looked to be struggling, with 11 wides in the first half. But sensational goals from Shane O'Donnell and Duggan brought them right back into the game. Shanager had a double chance to get a third goal, but James Scahill somehow did enough to deny him. Galway had to dig very deep, but eventually, they did enough to deny Clare a spectacular win and place in the All-Ireland final. Highlight of the year. Clare fans will naturally be disappointed with the manner in which their season ended, but nevertheless, there were many positives to take away from the season. They showed real grit and determination at times, fighting back against the critics who labeled them as underdogs. Never more so was this on display than in their comeback in the drawn semi-final with an extraordinary goal from Aaron Shanager, who had just returned from a cruciate injury. 5 players were then involved in the build-up to Jason McCarthy's equalizer. Goal. Clare. Aaron Shanager scores a fine effort, perfectly fielding a hopeful ball before smashing home from close range. Watch highlights on the Sunday game at 9:30 p.m. on RTE2 tomorrow. Picked.twitter.com/BTS77 for DOQJ. The Sunday game, at the Sunday game, July 28, 2018. Player of the season. Many will think of John Conlon as the man who inspired Clare this season. The banner stalwart was immense this summer, but their player of the year must be Peter Duggan. He dragged Clare back from the brink on a number of occasions, against Tipperary and Galway especially. He was the heart and soul of the Cork forward line and finished as the championship's top scorer with 376 to his name. 2019 expectations. This is still a relatively young Clare panel. They have a number of exciting players that are on the fringe of the squad who will be pushing for starting places in 2019. They'll have learned a lot of lessons from this year's heartbreak. You would expect that they will be in the Munster final for the third year running and may come out on top next year. Overall rating B. 4 wins, 3 losses, and 1 draw.